Hello YouTube and welcome to the lesson 19th of the After Effects tutorial series. So today we're going to learn about the number animation. So for that, as always, I'm going to create a new composition right here and press OK. And then to access the number animation, you just go to the effects and presets section over here. So if you do not have effects and presets and effect controls showing up, then you can go to Windows and then go to effects and presets over here and effect controls over here. So let's continue. And before you apply the number effect, so under effects and presets, you can see that there is text and you can see numbers and time codes as an option over there. So now in order to create a number animation, I'm just gonna right click over here and create a new solid layer right here. So I can apply the numbers effect to other objects here as well, but solid by far is easier to apply to in. So just press OK and then apply the numbers effect right over here. So I can align it. Let me align it to the left and press OK, and you can see that the number actually starts from the left side of the pivot point right here. So I can actually change the position by clicking over here in the position section of fill and stroke. So I can simply click over here and you can see that the position changes. So now I can play around with the settings over here. So this is for numbers and I just want to show the time code as well. So if I were to go to time code, then you can see the time code option right here. So you can play around with those as well. So now for this lesson, I'm going to focus on numbers. So let me just go on numbers and let me change the text, the font for numbers as well. So I can actually select the font over here as well, and to change some other settings that I want to, I'm just gonna select Myriad Pro because that is my favorite font. So now what I want to do is I want to increase the size of this, so I can increase the size to whatever size I want. So if I increase the size, you can see that the number actually shows a decimal point. So if you do not want a decimal point, then you can simply reduce this out. So you can increase or reduce the decimal point right here. So in the format section, you can actually go to number leading zeros or time code or whatever you see. If I were to turn on the time code, you can see as I move the slider, the time actually moves along. So this can be helpful for some of the time settings that you want to have. So if I were to set the time over here, you can actually see that you can see a clock over there as well. So I can change the value to random or so forth over from here. So I just want to stick to numbers. You can also go to hexadecimal numbers if you want to. So there are a lot of options as you can see, and the time code option over here, the time code effect over here works in a similar fashion. So for now, I'm just going to stick to numbers and then move the other values. So if I were to set the value to offset, this actually goes on to a random value. So I do not want random values over here. So if I were to go for random values, you can actually see the number actually fluctuates over here. So this is kind of cool for some type of animation right there. So now I want to set the value because I want to focus on the numbers right here. Let's say now what I want to do is, let's say the starting value is 0. So let me just go over to other settings right here. If I were to go to current date and time, it may show the current date and time over here. I can change the position. I can change the change to stroke only. So stroke color is white right now. If I were to change it to black, you can see the stroke color shows up. I can increase the stroke length and so forth. So for now, I'm going to have a fill color. Let's say I have fill over stroke. So I'm going to select blue as my base color and then brighter blue as the stroke color. So I can increase the width of the stroke and you can see. So I can increase the size of the stroke and you can see the numbers. So now I want to have a basic animation of the numbers. So what I want is I want the value to increase over time, and let's say I want the value to be 100. So if I were to move the slider over here, you can actually see that the number actually increases. So now 1000 might be the limit as the value over here, but if I were to drag the numbers over here, I can actually increase the value to more than 1000 as well. So basically the value here is unlimited. But anyways, what I want to do is I want to make sure that this number starts from 0 and ends at 100, let's say, for example. So I'm going to go over to effects, and under numbers, I see the same settings as here. So here I actually see the timeline, so it's easier for me to animate. So now I'm going to go over to format, and the value is over here. So I want the value to start from 0. Let me just type in 0 over there, keyframe the value, and at the end of 2 seconds, I want the value to be 100. So now the keyframe is set, and you can see the value moves from 0 to 100. And I can actually add an ease in as well, so the changing of value slows down at the end of the animation. So if I were to add an easy ease in, you can see the value actually slows down at the end. So if I want the if I want the animation to be more prominent, what I can do is I can move over to graph and then change the handle right here to make sure that the animation values changes much slower at the end. So let me turn off that graph and let's see. So you can see the value change actually changes over time and is much more slower at the end. So this is what I want, suppose, and let's say this is what I got. Let me just change the position of the numbers, and there you go. So that's how my number actually animates. And this is what I can use for a lot of things like increase, increment of percentages, time, and so forth. So now for the other values, I actually want to use the random numbers. Let me copy paste the layers just like that to create a cool effect. So for that, what I don't want is I do not want the keyframes right here. So I'm going to go over to numbers, format, and remove these out. Let's reduce the opacity of this value right here, and then turn on random values. And once I do that, you can actually see the value for this is randomized, and it is not controlled by the keyframes. So the value actually randomizes. Let me just copy and paste this, and then you can see that the values are not really random here. So I want to turn that off and on again, but it shows the same random value. So in order to make it a bit different, you can actually move it a bit further. So there's different value for all of the numbers right here. Let me just move that out. Let's copy and paste this, move it out right here, change it so that I get a different value right there. So you can actually see that you do have different random animations just like that. So you can do a cool matrix like effect if you want to, and you can see that the number animation is quite easy. So you can add in a percentage at the end, and that is quite up to you. So I can also add in a time code. Let's say just add in a new text, just add in a new solid layer over here, press OK, and add in a time code. So let me just drag in a time code, and time code actually appears like this, which I do not want. I do not want it, as I want it in a separate layer. So I'm going to pre-comp this first, pre-compose this, press OK, and then add in the time code at the top. And you can see the time. You can also place the time code wherever you want. So if you want to show rough footage or making video, then you can actually add this in. So I can increase the text size here as well. I can change the format. I can change it to frame numbers as well. I can change it to time, feet per frame, and so forth. So normally I just go for time, and the time can be layer source or compositions and so forth. I can change the text color of the time as I want, and then change the background color as well. Let's say it change the background color, the box color, and just like that. All right, so I have the time code and the animation just like this. So I can actually add in much more number animations and make a cool effect. So if I want to add in percentages or more time codes and so forth, then I can actually use this effect to create cool animations. So this is quite easy, as you can see. And so hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. And as always, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.